questions. Thanks, Donnie.
Sure. Thank you, Renee. I think first and foremost, let's talk about the most important things in life, and that's you know, a lot of the things that Rick touched on and kind of finished off with, which was the you know, the racial injustice. I think that is paramount on all of our minds. We've, you know, as everyone knows, we've come a long way, but we've got quite a long way to go, and that's never been more evident. You know, in terms of the recent developments, that's, you know, as a country, you know, as a community, as, you know, an individual across the board. And I think we have an incredible platform by which that I think that we can put the spotlight on some issues that are paramount to all of us, from Adam Silver to Mark Cuban to Sint Marshall, you know, Rick, obviously, with, you know, with the Coaches Association. There's nothing more important to us as an organization, as a league, than getting that right. And I think all of us individually have to look internally, you know, what can we do better? We have to hold each other accountable. And there just really isn't anything that is, you know, more front of mind important to us as a league, as a team, and individually as that. Now, that being said, this is unprecedented times, and as Coach laid out, just the fact that we're, you know, going to be in Orlando in, you know, probably one of the safest, most sterile environments in the United States of America. Just all the precautions that the league has taken, it's not risk-free, but I think in terms of just the professionalism, the amount of detail that's gone in from everything that you can imagine to make sure and ensure that hotels, practice facilities, transportation, every dot is crossed and every I is dotted. Now, that being said, it's impossible to ensure ourselves of a 100% COVID safe and COVID free environment. All that being said, those are obviously the challenges that were presented as a franchise. I believe our guys are really excited, chomping at the bid, tired of, you know, shooting one basket to one coach. We're excited about getting on the plane, going down there, and hopefully making a nice run. I think there's nothing more important than staying COVID free. As you guys know, you know, positive tests involve being out of action in a lot of respects. You know, I think that the team or teams that stay the healthiest will probably have the best chance of going deep. And that is absolutely 100% the most important thing that Casey and our medical team is being meticulous about right now. We want to get on that plane on the 8th. We want you know, everyone to be safe, COVID-free, and enter the bubble with, you know, all of our bodies intact, all of our players intact, and that's the most important thing. I think everyone has seen by now, you know, some of the challenges that have taken place in Denver. That can happen to any of us, and we just want to take every precaution, holding each other accountable, not just within the practice facility, but as players go back to their families and loved ones, that they take every precaution, because their health is not only the most important thing to us as an organization, but it's their health is paramount to us, you know, having the kind of run that we hope to have. that being said, why don't I, Renee, at this point, just open it up for questions.
Okay, great. Thanks, Donnie. Our first question is from Eddie. So I'm asking him to unmute now.
Hey, Donnie, a couple of things. First, do you guys have a scrimmage partner assigned yet for Orlando?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. Second of all, just the signing of Trey Burke. Why Trey as opposed to somebody like Ryan? Or
Sure. So Eddie, you tailed off, but I think I got the question. Can everybody hear me okay? Can you hear me, Renee?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so Trey Burke. So as you look at our proposed rotation starting lineup, obviously, you have Luka, you got Hardaway, Curry, Dorian, KP. Let's say in some form or fashion, again, this is depending on lineups and, coach's decision going in rotationally, but let's say in some form or fashion, that is we call it projected starting five. DeLon, the beauty of DeLon is he can play a little point, a little two, a little three. He's that, unique utility guy that provides you, a multi-positional backup. Justin Anderson similarly can play a little backup three, even a little pinch backup four. Given a lot of the finesse fours that are out there right now. And then Maxey, the beautiful thing about Maxey is he can play four and he can play five. He can slide back and forth. So if you're doing a flow chart, let's say that those are the rotational players along with JJ that will get a steady diet of backup point, and also he can play some backup 2 minutes. So that gets you to let's call it 9, which is a normal rotation. Boban, as we all know, can play the backup. I'm sorry, he's our third string backup 5, and in a pinch, MKG can provide some minutes there as well as the backup 4. So as we looked at our depth chart and, along in concert with coach about, the rotation and needs, it became pretty clear to us, although we lost Willie Cauley-Stein, we had, KP, you had Maxey that can play some of those backup 5 minutes. Boban certainly is capable. Obviously had the big game, going into the COVID situation, but he's a guy that can be leaned on and counted on for more minutes. And then, if we have an injury or whatnot, MKG can also, kind of in a Maxey kind of way be a finesse 5. And so as we looked at, the profile of the team, we felt that there was more of a need, at that backup 1-2 scoring off the bench. And so, again, it was looking at the depth, looking at the needs, and it wasn't lost on us that, Trey not only, won a championship, NCAA championship with Timmy, but he also knew our system. He has been with us, he understands us, and if we were looking at the best players at the time on the board, the centers, the center rotation or the threes that we kind of looked at, they weren't at the same level in terms of punch and need for our team, and so that's why we signed Trey, and we were excited to do so. As you know, he off the bench, he can provide a real scoring punch. He knows Rick, knows the system. Rick trusts him, obviously, and so that's why we went in that direction.
Great, thank you. Our next question is from Landon. Landon, you're still muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Thanks, Donnie, for having us. My question is regarding if people do test positive, what is the plans set in place to replace them if need be?
So when and if that happens, we would have to sign a free agent, bring him in and have a 7-day quarantine period. So again, it's critically important that, as soon as something like that heads in that direction, or we think that there's a possibility that, we're going to be quote unquote, it's going to be a fireman type scenario. If we have 1 or 2 people at any position go down, we will immediately, be on the line to get the best, possible free agent in the market, get them on a plane, get them down as quickly as possible, and then there would be, a quarantine period of 7 days that they would have to sit and not play. And as you guys know, whether it's the last 8 games or whether it's playoffs, every game counts. And so that's why it's critically important that our guys stay healthy. But that would be the plan if, God forbid, one of them, came down with the virus.
Great. Thank you. Tim, I'm unmuting you now. Thank you. Tim Cato.
Yes. Hey, Donnie. I know that, every front office decision is made in unison with Cuban and Carlisle and other decision makers in the front office. Was part of the reasoning not to sign a big man and to be comfortable going into Orlando, with the big man depth that you have? Was part of that reasoning was a general thought that the postseason basketball tends to skew smaller anyway, as it typically goes, and that it was inevitable that in the postseason the lineups you use would end up being smaller in a lot of cases?
It was really a function of the best player on the board given our needs. Truly, the logic would say, hey, listen, Willie Cauley-Stein, who's having a baby and will not be able to join us, we're going to have to replace a center with a center. But it was, and Jalen Brunson obviously is not going to play either. And so, whether you're plugging a hole, those guys, there aren't free agents out there on the open market that are going to, replace those guys. And so you're making the best of a difficult situation. So the first thing you do is you analyze, is there anyone out in the marketplace at the 5 spot that is better than Boban? I mean, KP is going to get the lion's share of those minutes. Maxi's going to back him up. Boban is our 3rd backup center. And so who in the marketplace would we play over Boban? And the answer was none of the guys on the list that were, willing to, come to Orlando were as good as Boban. And then we, and then the MKG with a kind of an emergency 4th backup possibility. We got pretty comfortable pretty quick with the center spot. And then we just went down the list, and we're looking at needs. We discussed the small forward, and, our thing is that we have Hardaway, we got Justin Anderson, Dorian can play minutes at the 3. We've done small lineups where we've actually, DeLon can steal some minutes there if need be. And then we also, like Cleveland. Cleveland's, provided us some really good minutes, and obviously has worked hard in the G League and put himself in position. So that was part of the discussion. So we felt really good about the 3 and the 2, and then we kind of, our needs basically were, down to, someone that's familiar with our system. You can never have enough quarterbacks, going into a situation like this. And So yeah, that was our thought is, get multi-position playmakers, just in case Luka sprains an ankle and you got to, throw DeLon or JJ in, you've got to have some ability to play, make, and shot create. And that was why we, settled, we made the decision like we did.
Thanks, Donnie. Okay, we've got 2 questions left. Second to last will be Brad Townsend. Brad, I am unmuting you now.
Thank you. Hey, Donnie, quick question and a follow-up, if you don't mind. Have you guys determined, well, I guess you have determined, or can you say which members of the management team will be in the bubble?
So Keith Grant for sure. We have to have one management member, and so Keith will be there, logistically to make sure, and then it's really our traveling team. And then, Mark, obviously, Mike, myself, will come and go, and we'll certainly, be there for the bulk of the games. And but again, as far as logistically inside the bubble, Keith is the guy, while Mike and I are scouting, locally, nationally, whatever. Keith is on every road trip, seems like for the past 100 years. I mean, he's just been invaluable to this franchise. And so Keith is, historically the guy that goes on every road trip. And so he'll represent us inside the bubble.
Okay, thanks. And following up, ultimately, you and Mark are responsible for the health and safety of your 35-member traveling party. I wondered how much, tossing and turning you've done and scenarios playing in your head over the last few weeks.
No, look, I mean, you guys know Mark sees every one of the players as we all do. Keith, myself, Mike, Rick, all of our staffs on both the scouting and management side. I mean, those players are family. There's nothing more important to the success of this organization. But just aside from that, everyone's got families, and, you get to know families, and they are your family. And so as we're asking all these guys, who are going into the bubble, it's a sailor's existence. I mean, these guys don't know if they're going to be at sea for a month or 2.5. Our hope is that we have a nice long run, and it's more on the 2.5 side than a month. But the reality is, these guys are taking risks. They're doing so without their family members. They're saying goodbye to their family members for that period of time. And it's not easy. And, testing daily to separation to this is going to be an unprecedented historical experience that our sport has never seen, the world has never seen. And the fact that, we're entering into this just unique opportunity, there's anxiety involved. There's also excitement that these guys get back on the court. But all the issues, Brad, that you're laying out, whether it's, being away from their families, which is excruciating. I mean, I can tell you Willie Cauley-Stein wrestled back and forth with his decision, and it was a really, really difficult and tough one. COVID has just sent everything into a unique daily odyssey. I mean, it's just, we a lot of times don't know what to expect. I mean, Willie Cauley-Stein, for example, here's a guy that is going to have a baby, and based on the new, our COVID guidelines, if he went with us, he probably wouldn't be able to, go back and be with his, baby daughter. And, the other thing is that again, I'm I'm just like you guys learning, on a daily basis about this stuff. But, mom and dad are the only ones that can be around a newborn, and so those are massively huge challenges that we've never, navigated before. And so, yeah, it is difficult. It is unprecedented. We are relying, on the information that we're getting, from the league. It's not risk-free, but there is an optimism and excitement about getting to Orlando and getting the Dallas Maverick machine revved up again, because we got a lot of young guys that are fearless, and a coach that's won a championship, and we're eager to get down there and get back to playing.
Great, thank you. Our final question of today's session will come from Skylar from the AP. Skylar, go ahead. Thank you.
Donnie, good to hear from you. Thanks for doing this.
My pleasure, Skylar.
A quick housekeeping thing before my actual question. Just to be clear, have there been no positive tests among players, coaches, or staff?
To my knowledge.
Okay, cool. And I wondered about how important is depth with this sort of compressed schedule, assuming that you all would view it as compressed?
Depth as in terms of depth of the roster?
Yeah, right.
It's important. It is important. There's no question. I think the question is, look, as you guys know, Rick plays a deeper rotation. And so I'd say on any given night, you're looking at 9, 10 folks. And so, we've got that covered with backup. But if in fact, a player or two goes down, again, we've got to crank it up, get on the phone, put out the fire, get someone with a 7-day, turnaround to be a replacement. And yes, it will be, it's us plus 21 other teams that will be in that potential mode. So those players may go quickly. In fact, today in our scouting call, we literally are getting backups at every position that our list could, it's going to be very, very deep because you're going to be in a position where guys are going to be coming off the board quickly. So it'll be kind of like the draft. But that being said, yes, depth is important to coach that plays a deep roster, and that's kind of why we have those controls in place.